Hey, you there. Just wanted to let you know you are now listening to the AK Mindset Podcast. Yo, what's good, guys? Welcome back to the AKWatch. I know we're a week late, but sometimes life happens. But we're here today, and to continue to keep engaged and informed with us, follow our socials on screen at the AK underscore mindset, and then on Twitter or X at AK Mindset. So yeah, I still need to get used to the X thing because instead of saying Twitter, but that's another thing.
Silly, bro.
It's wild. And as you can hear, with me today is the guys, all of them. Say hi.
Yo, we're back again. Sorry for the week delay, but we're back on the JJK hype. So I'm glad you guys are happy to hear us back, man.
Yep, we're back. So episode 5, and even though we were a week late, it doesn't matter because the series is on break, so you guys aren't missing anything.
True. You preaching. So let's just jump into the conversation. Episode 5, Premature Death, and it's a year later since the last time we've seen the guys. You can see how advanced Gojo has become in regards to just being one of the strongest just about in as a sorcerer. Ability wise, he's more adept to his understanding of what he can do, and he's grasped things that has essentially made him OP to some extent. How do you think about his growth specifically, and just how much of a character change you've seen just in this year's difference?
So I guess this year it kind of just showed, like you said, the event with Toji really made Gojo focus on honing his curse technique and just continue focusing on getting stronger. And we see the mentality that he has, how he's established himself in this year, developing some of the things that we see in the present time. So I think while he was on a, I guess, upward trajectory, mastering reverse curse technique, so he can have the infinity on at all times, you kind of see Geto on a downward spiral where because you have this separation between the two of them being the strongest to now Gojo just being the strongest, he's taken on a lot more missions and just doing this repetitive day in day out thing with the consuming curses, which is not a pleasant experience. Tastes like vomit, so he eats and vomit basically every day. And then since Shoko doesn't go on missions either, he's doing her share of the work as well. And I think it just showed to me like the Jujutsu system is not really sustainable in terms of sorcerers, because you're just relying on 2 kids. I know they're super strong to do all the work when you should really have more guys to help. It didn't really feel like the workload is being shared evenly. Yeah,
I hear that. What about you, Ed? What was your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I agree. It was just to piggyback on that idea of I just didn't realize how bad it was. It just basically Gojo, after just him doing crazy kind of missions. There was no other students who graduated like a couple years ago who were somewhat strong or something, or maybe they just didn't tell us, but it just felt like it was heavily reliant on the students that still being students, but it was a bit weird. Then Gojo, if someone beats you up so bad, you have to learn how to use your powers properly. It was a fight, so you had to pattern up, and at the same time, I think the distance that was being created between him and Geto affected Geto a lot more than everyone else around him realized. Well, to be fair, Gojo realized that. I was acting like, yo, you're a bit skinny, bro. You're good. But, he lied, and I think Gojo just, had complete trust in him. Like, if he said it's fine, it's nothing too serious. But little did he know, he was battling some demons, literally. So, but yeah, it was an interesting perspective. Like a year later, the kind of different parts are taken, strength wise and philosophy wise. So yeah.
Yeah, you both kind of noted things that I basically saw as well in regards to like the isolation of Ghetto and people becoming more individualistic and trying to pursue, obviously because of a lot of traumatic events that has made them very reflective on their position and understanding that they have to be better. But like a question that I want to put out there is, do you think the increase in solo missions that Gojo took on and just the separation of that team, and they didn't look like they were supporting each other, do you think that accelerated Ghetto's demise?
100% believe he did, because I felt if Gojo spent a little bit more time, I think he might have. Because even the little time he spent with him, from what we saw, he saw like something was wrong. So I felt if it was more time, he knew that something was off. Because we knew the kind of person Ghetto was. Like the first 2 episodes, it was like goofy, just like Gojo, making jokes and everything. So I think that like isolation affected him a lot. I mean, I think the biggest catalyst, we might talk about it later, was the death of I forgot the name of the kid. Yeah, I think that was the biggest catalyst, but I think the isolation from Gojo specifically didn't help the issue either.
Yeah, you can tell that he was feeling that everything he's doing is a waste of time, and kind of moving on to the interaction with the upperclassman, Harabara. It really initiated the kind of conversation that he'd been having internally.
Harabara is the younger guy.
Is Harabara was that upperclassman then? Or the underclassman is the Harabara? Yuki, is it?
Yeah, she's graduated.
That's it. The Yuki Tsukumo, something like that. The conversation they had kind of allowed him to bring out thoughts that he's been having. You can tell like his whole demeanor, just the day-to-day tedious nature of how he's moving, and as well as that shower scene. Bro, that shower scene kind of like, it was just, you felt everything he was feeling, like this was not looking good. Do you think that he should have been challenged more in regards to when he brought up the like concept that like instead of we have to deal with the source, and maybe he should have been challenged in regards to there's some morality that we have and there's some things we can't do and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think that whole conversation is a very big talking point. It's an interesting scenario. You kind of see beforehand, you mentioned it with the shower, he was just cracking, and mentally he wasn't in a good space, and he'd already started to have a negative view on non-sorcerers. So when he talks to Yuki, and she's coming at it from like a very scientific researcher's point of view, understanding the source and trying to attack the source of the issue, and just eliminating the whole prevention is better than cure, trying to do that approach. So when he suggests that and then she doesn't necessarily I guess take that option away, you could say he feels validated, and I think it would be fair to say Yuki should have said on a morality perspective, but the way I see it, I don't think she was thinking it in that kind of way. And I mean, you could say she did say, oh yeah, I'm not that crazy to kind of put out there, like it's not something that a normal person would do, but obviously it's not, you needed something more clear cut. But yeah, that's because I don't know, the way I see it is like, it is an option, obviously it's just not the right option, but like, yeah, I mean, obviously you can't kill everybody. And I think even later on in the episode, they kind of bring up, it's kind of, even though it's the easiest option, it's not actually easy. It's kind of very difficult to do, to kill everybody who's not just a Jujutsu sorcerer. So
yeah, it's definitely easy in words, right, but actually being able to do that, I do agree with what you're saying, that she was taking more of a like objective standpoint, and we're not having a literal conversation, even though we are, but it's not something we're going to do. It's just like a thought experiment said out loud, and we're conversating. Whereas, even though she did say that she's a good judge of character, which I kind of don't believe it anymore. I wonder why, but I feel like there's certain kind of understanding.
The other guy said that.
Bro, do you see how awful I am? I just be getting mixed up. So what is the underclassman said that?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he said that.
Well, he's also a bad judge of character too. He shouldn't be chilling with these youths. Anyway, Ed, what did you think?
Yeah, I think she was having she thought she was having a conversation with someone who was like emotionally mature, in the sense of, I think his emotions were just all over the place, obviously because of the situation we went through with Gojo. So that conversation had the wrong effect. So she thought she was speaking to someone like, oh, you're a high level of someone of a sorcerer, you might help us with the kind of how to deal with this kind of big problem we have. So it's good to have conversations with. When you're a certain level of skill, it's important to have conversations with this kind of people on your same level. I'm sure that's what she thought she was having, and she's you could tell she didn't. There's no malice, just joking. She was having fun basically, but she didn't know, which is weird because I felt like it was written on his face, this guy was going through it. And it's oh yeah, that would be easy to do, innit? Just kill everyone. And he's just huh. So you agree, kind of. So I think he took that the very wrong way, and like I said, it's it was easy in the sense of it's easy to say, but to obviously do it is morally wrong and just a crazy concept to have in the first place. But I think he took it to heart and said, you know what, that's the concept I'm going for. So it's crazy. Then Hibara, the underclassman, saying he was a good judge of character. I think we're just trying to speak to the goodness in GETO'S heart, I feel like. But I think with like I said, that's why the catalyst. I think the idea of losing people that he deems really close to just that the level of it happening, it didn't help at all. It was just stuff after stuff after stuff after stuff. So it was almost bound to happen almost.
Yeah, it seemed to be a lot of compounding events that were just taking a lot of toll on his mental state, and was going to eventually, result in something as drastic as the event that we get to. In regards to obviously Haibara being killed during the mission, and obviously the discovery of the two young sorcery girls being abused in the village, because obviously the village were blaming them for all the events that are taking place. I want you to tell me, do you feel pacing wise that everything that was showcased during this episode and previously was enough to kind of justify the rapid change we see in Geto during this episode?
I think so. From his perspective, I feel. But I think from a neutral perspective or a different perspective, you might say no. I think from his perspective, I felt like Gojo, he went through the first kind of catalyst of losing Rico. I think he had something to distract himself with, the missions. So he didn't have time. I felt like he didn't have time to sit with his thoughts and everything that happened. And so I think that might be one of the reasons why, he sat with it, and for a year is not enough to go over that kind of traumatic event. I feel, especially if you have nothing else to do but just to sit down and marinate over what happened. Then another stuff happened, another thing happened, another thing happened. So I think from his point of view, he felt like it was valid. You know what, push him over the edge. And if you see it from his point of view, you can understand why. But it's sort of hard to say. Obviously, we're not the ones who experienced it, and it's such an extreme kind of conditions we've been in. And even Gojo didn't go through what he went through, mentally, because Gojo had stuff to, like I said, distract himself, and he didn't see Gojo's strong connection out. Although, of course, they're schoolmates and everything, but he didn't seem to have that strong connection he did with Bara when he died. And so I think it's kind of justifiable from his point of view, but obviously from a neutral point of view, from us as viewers watching it, it's like, well, obviously it's not honest. You don't go that route no matter what happens, but that's what I think anyway.
What about you, Daniel? What are your thoughts?
You mean on the spiral?
The spiral
or the
and
pacing?
So a combination, the spiral, and there's the pacing. Obviously, your ideas on the spiral and stuff, but there's a pacing of this episode to this point justify the events in the village and in regards to the murders.
Yeah, I would say pacing wise, I think it's fine. I mean, they kind of gave you the start of it at the end of the last episode, where you kind of start to see him. He said that like it has to be a point to killing up to Gojo, and like I think he was just saying that to make sure to keep himself sane as well. And that clapping was a constant thing you heard in this episode, and I think that scene really stuck with him, and you start to see that descent. You see the year pass, and then that kind of gives you the indication with the eye bags in his eyes, the shower scene showing how he's starting to crack, and then the hate for the jujutsu, non-jujutsus are coming out. The conversation with Yuki, which he's gonna use to validate his hate for jujutsu sources, and then Ibara, someone who's like a bright spark, very positive, dying, doing the job to protect the non-jujutsu sorcerers who are seemingly ungrateful because they just went and killed an innocent girl. And he's just like, he starts thinking, what's the point? Then he does the job for the village, and then he finds these two girls who are jujutsu sorcerers, same as him, and then they're blaming them when he's already taking care of the problem. And that's just like he's just tired of seeing them get abused, and then he just cracks and he just decides to just blow it all up and kill everyone. And I think you kind of just see the slow descent, and then the cracking point when he just sees the twins being abused, and he's just like, yeah, you know what, just screw this, man, I'm just gonna kill everyone.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I like both of you. I do like the pacing. I think is just obviously the action is not justified, but the way it's presented is in a way where you have a clear understanding of GETO'S firstly his downfall, and then obviously was kind of pushing him towards taking these extreme actions. In regards to obviously Gojo's immediate reaction when we see my guy is sentenced to death, Gojo is super shocked, and this kind of leads to the scene. First thing, obviously, just the scene, obviously, that he confronts Geto after he gets his new drip. The drip was kind of cold, I can't lie. I was feeling Geto's new wave. Obviously, not his actions, but his new drip was kind of different. Do you feel that Geto feels like he's somewhat responsible for? Gojo feels that he's kind of responsible for what happened to Geto, or does he feel like he should have done more in stopping or spotting the demise?
I think he definitely feels the responsibility. I would say after the conversation, because you see how he's talking about how it's not just enough to be strong. You need you can't just be strong by yourself. Being the strongest creates this solidarity around you. Kind of just separate him from Geto, and it kind of create a barrier that he wasn't aware of. So I think he definitely feels the responsibility, which is influencing his action and making sure that the next generation is stronger.
Yeah, I definitely agree. What about you, Ed? Do you feel like Gojo feels like he's super responsible for what's taking place, and maybe how he could have just been more involved with a change of situation, or was it too late? Do you think that whatever Gojo did in regards to trying to help him out, it was a foregone conclusion that he was going to end up like this?
I don't think it'll be a foregone conclusion. I think Gojo, I don't know if the word is like responsible we use, but I feel like he might think like, what could I have done to stop it? If that makes sense. I don't think he thinks it's his fault from my perspective anyway. But you're like, what could I have done to like stop this happening? I think that's why he develops that kind of like, and to make everyone strong. Like if they were stronger, but mentally and physically, then maybe they won't go through this route. So I think it was both thinking, could I fix this? More than like, oh, it's all my fault that he went this way. Because I'm sure it came to him as a surprise. He was like, well, what? He did what?
Yeah.
I know his surprise and everything was like, it was beautiful, like the emotions on his face. Like, it was a surprise. I don't think it's a sense of responsibility. It's like, I should have been there to help him more. If that's, maybe I don't know if that's the same thing, but just like I could have done something to like stop. But it's not my fault he did it, but it's like I could have done something to like help support in some way. I feel like if he like intercepted or he was there to speak to him, like when the kid died, then something. I think it's never too late to step in for someone until they've done the bad thing. Then obviously it's too late. But I think along that timeline, so just like even if it went with him to that situation with the twins, I think it might have helped a lot, So I think I'm not responsibility, but I'm sure it'll be like, oh, I should have done something. If only if I knew, basically.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think that his immediate presence or lack of presence in any of the missions he was on meant that Geto just had a lot of time and a lot of space just to just think about stuff and dwell on stuff, and then make instinctive decisions based on the thoughts that he has been practicing and churning over and over again in his head. So definitely, I believe, like you said, if Gojo was immediately there, it might have been the case that they would have had a fight there, and Gojo would have to beat him to stop him doing that, but at least he would not have done what he done, because obviously Gojo would have been there. So I also agree that it wouldn't have been a foregone conclusion. But yeah, it's sad to see, and Gojo's kind of immense pain just shows you how much like that he kind of cherished that friendship and wouldn't want anything to go wrong in regards to Geto's future and what he's like doing. We obviously see Gojo let Geto go, because that's just part of the shock. I know he wasn't ready or in the position to, even the environment to just take him on. It was just a lot of registering what's actually going on and understanding just being shaken. But we see Geto, he moves quickly and rapidly. I think that surprised me. Obviously taking over the Star religious group as this new leader, with impressive introduction showcasing on stage to just show who's in charge now. Do you like the immediate moves that Geto is making? He seems like a man on his mission.
Yeah, like it shows how determined it is. But before that, I think what the team did with just like how they structured the whole episode was really good, especially the direction when it comes to like the lighting. It was so good. I think it's when I went like offline and saw what people thought about the episode, and I think that's one good thing about the internet sometimes. Like, oh my god, I didn't see that before. So I watched the series and the episode again. It's like, oh my god. So that's what the kind of interpretation I can get from that. You just know, because we saw the scene between Geto and Gojo before, and this is like a second telling of like the same scene. And the first time we saw is from like Gojo's point of view. They can see like how dark it is and like kind of dreary, and like it was like you could see Gojo's emotion from that point of view. Then this point of view is from Geto's point of view. It's more brighter. Even the lighting of the episode from when Geto was like in the shower, being a bit emotional, but now he seems happy, no bags under his eyes, he's smiling. and the lighting of the episode was sunny. You could tell like it has a changed perspective. So he sees this change as a good, healthy thing for him. And obviously Gojo, when we saw it from his point of view, was like, oh, what have you done, Geto, basically. So I think that was really, really good. And, you know, I thought his revenge on the Star Rangers group was just perfect. I enjoyed it. You know, if he stopped there, it would have been good. But no, obviously Geto had to go too far. But I noticed as well that the person he called on stage to kill was the person who Toji first gave the Riko's dead body to, basically. So I think it's like, that was good. He deserved to die. So I was hyping him for that specific moment a little bit. Like, well done, you got your revenge. No, because like we were thinking, would he kill him? Would he have killed the clapping that was constantly going on in his head? So it shows that it really affected him, and like he just had to take his revenge. So I like his determination and moving forward now. And it seems like he doesn't really care when one thinks, even his best friend, because I think Coach is his best friend. So yeah.
Yeah, I hear that. What about you, Dan? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, kind of just shows he's decisive. He picked his path and he's sticking to it. You kind of see that when he's talking to Gojo and he's like, oh yeah, I killed my parents, which I was like, wow. I mean, I was surprised that his parents didn't have curse techniques as well. So that kind of made me think about like, why don't they have curse techniques, and why did he just kill them like that? Fair enough. But yeah, I mean, he's just very determined to do what he wants to achieve, and he wants to get rid of all the monkeys in the world. I mean, calling them monkeys is just like, I'm just getting the Freezer flashbacks.
For real.
Yeah,
the Freezer set standard.
Yeah.
And gets us all in it. I respect it.
Yeah, the monkey thing is just crazy. Like he definitely stole that from Toji, but you know, it's fine.
Yeah. It took it personally. He got defeated and he said, I'm a monkey. He's like, oh, say less. I'm gonna steal your whole flow.
Well, pretty much. And then I guess the last thing, I just found it funny when before he talks to Gojo, he meets with Shoko and they're just like, oh yeah, you did it? You killed them? He's like, yep, you bet I did. And he's like, oh, rah. Right then, hey, Gojo, he's over here. And then he's like, catch him. He's like, nah, I don't want to die. So I just like the nonchalance, because I mean, if it was one of you, man, and then you did, God forbid, you did that thing, and then I see you, and then you want me to apprehend you, I'm sorry, bruv. I value my life, so
Likewise.
Go through and do your thing. I'll call the authorities and let them do the thing, because I'm not a superhero.
I'm not involved. I'm not involved.
For real. I am an innocent civilian. Oh my days, you preaching. Moving on to the end of this episode, we see Gojo meeting up with Megumi. How did you feel about Megumi's introduction, Kid Megumi? A lot of attitude, but he seems to have some of the recognizable traits that we kind of grown to see.
Yeah, man, it's Megumi.
Yeah,
It's Megumi. I think it showed how kind of his character from the start. It shows it's kind of still the same person, same beliefs and everything. It's like when he's talking about his father, it's like he doesn't care. The person he cares about is just his sister, and he wants to take over. So I think it was just that introduction, even though it's like not a real introduction, it's like kind of double down why I like him as a character. So I think it was interesting from that point of view, and Gojo's reaction to him as well. Just it's funny as well. I saw someone say that Gojo and Geto basically became stepfathers at the same time at such a young age. So Gojo and his father era, and so does Geto with the twins. So I think it was a nice way to end. In a high note, because it was emotional. The whole episode was like, wow, well, this is sad. Oh, he died? That's sad. Oh no, Geto and Gojo are fighting. This is sad. It's separating. It's confirmed like they're going different ways. This is sad. Then it gets to the end, like, oh, this is like a sweet moment to have when we're going on this like a month break. You know, Gojo and Megumi has finally come together. Then now, it's transition into him waking up and him seeing Megumi and the rest again. So it was a nice touch. I liked it.
What about you, Dan?
Definitely. Yeah, I like what Ed said. It's a nice touch, you know. Gives you hope. You see I liked the touch in the anime. You kind of see when he wakes up, he's got like red eyes underneath. Some people thought he might be like crying. I don't know. I don't read too deep into it, but I like that kind of added detail. Kind of, you know, he's remembering this time when him and Geto were friends, and then obviously it brings up emotions that he doesn't really show that often. So overall, you know, with Megumi, it was an interesting, fun interaction that shows how Megumi's always thinking about the family first, wants Tsumiki to be safe. And as soon as he heard that the Zenin's not going to do that, he said, cool, I'm going to go with you, even though you tried to tell me that you just killed my dad. Why did he try and flex that? Okay, don't worry. He tried to flex that he killed his dad,
For real.
that's
He went
a
through it,
madness.
man.
No,
as
because
well.
he's proud of that, and I don't blame him.
He got panned.
Bro, I don't care. Like, why are you
It's a bit
saying,
wild.
oh yeah, I killed your dad, by the way, but you want to come live with me? That's insane.
It's Gojo though. Gojo is crazy like that. Sometimes he says some unnecessary stuff, but that's his
Yes, but I'm
personality.
like 7. I'm 7. As a 7-year-old man, if a guy comes up to you and says, I killed your dad, you're going to get sold off. Do you want to come live with me?
Crazy.
No,
It's a
It's just
crazy
going
combination.
from bad to worse, bro.
like, it's like, oh wait, I had a dad in the first place, and now he's dead, and you killed him.
And
How's this good news,
now
bro?
you're kidnapping me.
Bro. But it was. I saw it and he was laughing. I was like, if it was me, I was like, am I safe? Am I actually safe? You seemed way too excited to tell me you've offed one of my bloodline right there.
Yeah, Gojo be letting his intrusive thoughts win too many
Way too
times. Way too many times. So what do you man think of the overall episode then?
I thought it was really good. It was good. Like, it was the direction, the music, everything it hit the feels. Like you said, we liked how it ended, and it was good. And it pained me when I finished. Like, oh no, we have a month, bro.
Yeah, it's
But
crazy.
I think it's a really good episode, and I enjoyed it. And the first half of it, or not even the first half, the first 5 episodes of this series is amazing. And we're going to go into more craziness next. If you know, you know. So I'm excited. They did this bit really well. I was so afraid of how they were going to do it. Even though I had high hopes, but it's always that kind of thought in the back of it, like, are they really going to hit out of the park? And I think they did. And yeah, it was good, man. Yeah, I personally enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
I agree.
You too, Dan?
Great episode. Yeah, great episode, man. You know, Ed mentioned it earlier, the direction on point. Really good with the angles, the OST, voice acting. Shout out to the voice actors. And then how it looked. Perfect as usual. Well, not perfect. Obviously, nothing's perfect, but, you know, it looked great. Animators were doing their thing, storyboarders, all the stuff. I can't remember all the different roles, but it's a great episode to end off the arc. And I think if I were, you know, it's just something I could recommend. You know, this is a great way to experience. You can read the manga, but definitely you can experience this arc through the anime for sure. I think it's even better, to be honest.
100% agree with that. There's so few animes I agree with that, but we know we have this conversation every time. Once the anime is a 10 out of 10, it should be doing the manga, and JJK proves that. It's just amazing. The better explanation, better direction, in my opinion. Like we said before, the art sometimes in JJK, it needs 2-3 reads, but the anime it was almost perfect. You know, it's like a 9 out of 10. Beautiful stuff. So I think, yeah, get on it, people. I don't know why would you even be listening to this if you're not watching it anyway? But yeah, it's a definite recommendation in my opinion.
No, I definitely agree with what both of you said. I've been thoroughly enjoyed JJK so far this season. Hasn't really missed at all, and I can't wait for the month to. This is the first time I want time to speed up, just so I can get to some more quality JJK content. If you guys have no last words, what's your final thoughts?
Not final thoughts, but I wanted to congratulate Daniel basically of getting one of his favorite moments from the manga coming next episode, and then we saw the preview a little bit.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So we talked about it. So I was like, oh my god, because I remembered it a little bit when you talked about it. I was like, am I remembering the same thing? But when I saw the preview, it was like, this was what he was talking about. So I'm glad they put it. And you were right, it was going to happen after like this, after this arc. So I'm sure you're happy it's coming.
Yes, I'm excited for that. That's the thing that I will leave you with. I'm excited for that scene because it's one of the rare, down periods in JJK where you just see the kids being kids and not having to deal with these supernatural monsters. So I'm just
Emphasis on
looking
rare,
forward to
bro.
that. Very rare.
Rare. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, like the lad said, excited to be back with JJK on the 31st of August. Probably not on the day, but you never know. We'll see. But I appreciate you guys for listening in this episode 5. Really enjoyed bringing this to you. As we said earlier, follow on the socials on Insta at the .ak_mindset and on Twitter or X at the AK Mindset. So yeah, we'll catch you guys in a month in regards to JJK. Probably have other things out to fill the gap. So just keep in contact in regards to our social media to get updated on what that will be. Anyway, like we said, catch you in a bit. Peace.
Peace.
Deuces.
Love you.